Now for business updates across the globe, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good to have you back. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers. So much going on this week. Federal Reserve is going to be giving us their rate decision. That's the United States Central Bank. So that's going to be due today. They met yesterday. They will give us their decision today. If we look at some rate hike odds, here's the latest odds. So the markets think that there's a 3% chance that we'll get a rate hike from the Federal Reserve. Although, look, that's just what the markets expect. Bank of England, it was 90%. It's now come down to 70%. And we'll get to why, because we just got inflation numbers from the UK for August. Bank of Japan, 22%. So let's get to those UK inflation figures. Decelerating to 6.7% from 6.8% in July. Estimates were for 7%. Core inflation, which is what the Bank of England is mostly concerned with, that strips out volatile energy and food, decelerating to 6.2% from 6.9%. So it's up in the air as to what we will get from the Bank of England tomorrow. So we'll get the Fed today. Maybe it's a hold. Maybe it's one more hike. It's all there, and then that's what we're seeing from the UK. Ursula von der Leyen is again emphasizing that the EU is going to investigate China EV subsidies. She was at a forum either this morning or yesterday, and she repeated it. And so they're saying that, look, China is just not supposed to be, basically eating up market share using subsidies. It's unfair practices. European car sales data, we love data, just came out from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. I'd love to see this in Nigeria from our manufacturers here. 904,000 cars sold in August, a 21% year-on-year rise. If we break it down further, they have new vehicle registration. This is people buying brand new cars. Of course, there's a credit system that allows them to put a small down payment and also lease. Volkswagen Group leading the way, 240,000, a 20% climb. Stellantis in second place, 145,000 new registrations, 6% growth. Renault, 22% growth, 79,000. BMW, 64,000. Mercedes, 48,000, 11.4% growth there. We move on from that to, Nigeria. I took this yesterday, just last night. Look at this. So diesel is at 900, all right? While petrol is at 578. Does that make sense to anybody? That diesel prices, diesel is deregulated though. Petrol in Nigeria is supposed to be deregulated, but I know the government put a cap. But how can you have diesel at 900 and petrol at 578? So basically, oil prices, I've been saying this now. It's at $94, $95 a barrel. Diesel is deregulated. Now there's going to be an impact on this because of, we move almost everything by road. The diesel trucks that carry fuel are going to be, putting this into their cost. The aviation sector is probably going to be up in arms. We all saw what happened last year when diesel prices were climbing, because that's going to, of course, byproduct Jet A1 fuel. So, you do keep that in mind. This is what happens in a deregulated market. Goldman Sachs now is saying they're jumping in and saying they're forecasting $100 per barrel oil. Their 12-month forecast. So that continues to rise. You're seeing the issues with Saudi Arabia extending their voluntary cuts to the end of the year. OPEC is putting the squeeze, and this is going to have significant impact on the aviation industry. We're having some airlines in the US cutting their forecast for the year, profit forecast, because of rising fuel prices. While this is good for oil-producing nations that have the capacity, it is not good for everybody else. Hey, check this out. I finally found a car charging itself at the core electric vehicle station in Via. I was driving past, and this is a hybrid vehicle, takes fuel and electricity. So yeah, for people who are asking me where are the cars that are charging their cars with electricity, here we go. We finally saw one. So again, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Speaking of baby steps, the Dangote refinery, front page of today's This Day newspaper, Mr. Edwin Devakumar, the Dangote Refinery Group Executive Director, speaking to S&P. It's talking about operations to begin in October. It says it's anywhere from 350 to 370,000 barrels per day for diesel and jet fuel. And oh my word, isn't that needed right now? Then petrol refining to follow November 30. It says there's been a temporary delay in supply of crude from the NNPC, but that's going to be sorted out. And then Rufai, this for you, crude is going to be purchased in US dollars. There will be no sales in Naira. And then, of course, they said Nigeria is not the only market. It says 50% of their production or refining capacity can handle Nigeria's demand, and the rest of it is going to be exported. They are in a free trade zone, so this is essentially allows them the free reins to export to other markets. And they say they'll be even taking crude from other markets as well, possibly Middle East, Europe, and so on and so forth, in order to refine. Education. I had an interview yesterday with Mr. John Todd, founding director at Charterhouse, Lagos. They're opening a new school for, I think it's primary or kindergarten or something, for ages, I think 5 to 9, Lekki 2024. Here's what he was talking about in education in terms of prioritizing teachers.
If we look at schools and school fees, the school fees determine how much you pay the teachers. How much you pay the teachers very often determines the quality of candidates that you can attract.
Right.
So very often, UK independent schools pay more, get better teachers. And, you know,
it's straightforward.
We're doing the same thing. We will pay our teachers very well. We will also invest significantly in training them. So it's not just give them more money, it's give them the training. Make sure that they can do the job better, that the learning in the classroom is improved. Because, you know, in education, the single biggest factor in student success is the teacher.
Right, right.
So the more you invest in the teacher, the better the quality of the learning. And you know, the studies that show the teacher is the #1 factor.
So that conversation about making teachers the #1 priority, is that what, when we have NLC, for example, my favorite friends there who like to talk about, costs of living and also workers in Nigeria, do we prioritize teachers as the #1 factor of getting out the best students in the country? I leave that to our audience. Finally, Justin, I just got this in. So there's a green entrepreneurship collaboration that's been announced from the Tony Elumelu Foundation, United Nations Generation Unlimited, and the IKEA Foundation. It's called Be Green Africa. And it is essentially focused on the triple threats facing the climate. So you've got, biodiversity loss, resource scarcity, and climate change. So what they're going to be putting together is essentially a program that focuses on the climate and also is going to be channeling job creation for youth on the African continent in the green sector. Also, the Tony Elumelu Foundation is going to be releasing, I think they've already released it, I'm yet to go through it, an impact report on entrepreneurship on the African continent. But, a lot's been going on at the United Nations General Assembly, and so these types of things are going to be focusing on climate.
So you asked the question, do we prioritize teacher? Yeah, we're not doing it on the government level, but I personally have done a lot of work in this space. You can go Google 1 million teachers. It's a charity based out of Canada with a couple of friends of mine. And what do? We develop a curriculum for soft skill teaching for teachers. Because you see, Rotus is not about teaching the student the curriculum. Does the teacher understand empathy? Does the teacher understand love? Does the teacher understand the psychological outplay of the students? So we put up a curriculum there and put a belt system for them that the more you get up the ladder, you get a certain belt. A blue belt, like your karate belt and all of that.
Yeah.
So we have prime teachers that we are teaching the soft skills of teaching, the emotional skill and development. And this is a solution we've deployed in most parts of the north. There are most parts of Kano and the likes. And also, we're over our chair, Emir Sanusi Lamido, we raised about 3 to 4 million US, where we started having specialized teacher schemes. So there's so many things that are being done as regards this. So we also need the government to jump on things like this and ideas like this.
And this is fantastic, but you mentioned raising $3 to $4 million, right? The emphasis here is that, and that's the conversation we had, it costs money to train teachers at the premium level to be able to bring out the best students. So this is again the debate around free education, and it costs money.
Beyond
it costs money.
But it's an investment.
It's an
that
investment.
Must be made.
It costs money.
So as part of investment conversations, when we go abroad like this, part of that is also investing in our education infrastructure. I'd talked about the fact that, I think it was 2013, 2014, around that, 2013, we had a partnership. At least I know Lagos State had a co-project with the World Bank. And we also had a partnership with DFID, SPIN project. And so I'm wondering what happened with that. And part of that project, the Adopt a School program, was also one of the key aspects of that was teacher training. And it didn't have to be in cash. In some instances, it was in kind, where there was, we had experts from different parts of the world who came into Nigeria and trained our teachers, and it encompassed everything: soft skills, curriculum, engagement with the children. But absolutely important, if we're going to get education right, and we talk about investment, we must talk about teacher training. Kudos to private organizations, some private organizations who do their own bit, whether through awards, through competition. I know there's the Multinational Teacher of the Year, and a few other brands like that who are putting their back behind that. But the government must spearhead that, even if it means having to partner with international organizations or perhaps other institutions like this who have been able to achieve it.
Well, number one, first the Federal Reserve. Two
Yes.
expectations. Will the Federal Reserve do the 12th hike since March 2022? Or will the Federal Reserve pause and hold the rates? Now, investors have been speculating that the FOMC, the Federal Reserve, is likely to hold rates. But that may probably not happen. At the end of the day, the Federal Reserve may well prove to everybody that you can't second guess, the committee. However, what will be clear are those strong indicators that will come out from the Federal Reserve report today about inflation, about GDP, and, macroeconomic projections in the United States. That's number one. Number two, as for the Tony Elumelu Foundation, this Green Africa project is a Tony Elumelu Foundation project. They had announced it since August when they opened the TEF Connect, which is the digital platform for the Tony Elumelu Foundation, asking for applications from across Africa, the waste sector in Kenya, and then also the green sector in Nigeria, Senegal, Morocco. So the significance of it also is the partnership with the UNICEF and also with the IKEA Foundation to provide opportunities for young people, social and economic entrepreneurship. And it's to be recommended because when we're discussing President Tinubu's speech at the UN General Assembly, one of the things he was canvassing for is the private sector, getting involved in job creation and creating opportunities, because it cannot be done only by government. And what the Tony Elumelu Foundation has been doing is giving back to society, being socially responsible, and creating opportunities across all the 54 countries in Africa. Finally, where we would be without our teachers? I mean, it's a no-brainer to say that teachers have to be properly trained. Part of the problem in this country is what has happened to teacher training. What happened to all our teacher training colleges, for example? So what Mr. Todd was pointing out is on point about this disconnect. If you have bad teachers, you will produce mediocre students. Look at in one state in the north where they organize ordinary tests for teachers and half of the teachers failed. So what would they teach? So this is part of the problem. In Nigeria, it's a very serious thing. We need to take a look at teacher education, pay them well, so that you don't have these schools where teachers, instead of teaching, are selling chin-chin and pop-pop, as is the case in many of our schools, particularly at the lower levels. Thank you very much, Rotus.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.